My husband's family called me the servant at Thanksgiving because I cooked everything. So I stopped cooking. Now they're begging me to come back after his sister's gourmet meal gave everyone food poisoning. She said it right as I was bringing out the turkey. I'd been on my feet since 5 a.m. basting that thing every hour, making 3 types of stuffing because people have preferences, hand-rolling dinner rolls, peeling what felt like 50 pounds of potatoes. My back was screaming and I had a burn on my wrist from the oven rack. I set the turkey down on the table and his sister Christina looked around at everyone and said, "Well, I guess the servant finally finished her job. Can we eat now or does she need a tip first?" The whole table went silent. My husband just sat there. Didn't say a word. His mom actually laughed. She laughed and said, "Oh, Christina," like it was some cute joke. I put down the carving knife, took off my apron, and walked straight to the bedroom. I could hear them starting to serve themselves. Nobody came to check on me. 20 minutes later my husband knocked and said, "Babe, are you coming back? We saved you a plate." Like that was supposed to fix it. I told him I was done. He said I was being dramatic. Said Christina was just joking and I was too sensitive. I asked him why he didn't defend me and he said he didn't want to make a scene in front of his family. So I told him fine. I wouldn't make a scene either. I just wouldn't be cooking for his family anymore. He thought I meant just Thanksgiving. I meant ever. Christmas came around and his family does this big dinner on Christmas Eve. Usually I'd make a standing rib roast, homemade Yorkshire puddings, the works. His mom called me 2 weeks before asking what time I needed her kitchen to start prepping. I said I wasn't cooking this year. She laughed and said, "Oh honey, don't be silly, you know nobody else can cook like you do." I said, "Then I guess you'll figure something else out." She stopped laughing real quick. Called my husband upset, saying I was punishing the whole family over a joke. He tried to convince me to just do it this one time and we'd talk about boundaries after the holidays. I said no. His sister Christina volunteered to cook. She went on in the family group chat about how she'd been watching cooking shows and taking online classes and this was going to be amazing. My husband acted relieved. Told me, "See, it all worked out, I could just relax this year." Christmas Eve came and we showed up empty-handed. His whole family kept looking at me like I was going to pull a casserole out of my purse or something. Christina had made what she called elevated holiday cuisine. Everything had some fancy French name I couldn't pronounce. The turkey was raw in the middle. Not pink, like straight up raw. The garlic herb potatoes were burnt on the outside and hard as rocks inside. She'd made this weird cranberry foam thing that tasted like cough syrup. The green beans were cold and soggy. She'd attempted some kind of souffle that had collapsed into a flat rubbery disc. People were pushing food around their plates trying to be polite. My husband's dad finally said he wasn't hungry and got up. Within 10 minutes half the table had cleared out to the kitchen where people were making sandwiches from the deli meat his mom had in the fridge. Christina was near tears saying she followed the recipes exactly. My mother-in-law said, "Well, it's fine, everyone has off days," but you could tell she was pissed. She kept looking at me like I was supposed to swoop in and save dinner. I just sat there eating the store-bought rolls. My husband pulled me aside and said, "Okay, you made your point, this is embarrassing for everyone. Just help her fix it." I said, "No, I'm a guest this year, remember?" He said I was being petty. We left early. He didn't talk to me the whole drive home. Then 3 days later his mom called him crying. 9 people from Christmas Eve dinner had gotten food poisoning. Bad. His aunt was in the hospital on N4. His dad hadn't left the bathroom for 2 days. Christina had apparently undercooked the turkey and cross-contaminated a bunch of stuff. The family was livid. Someone reported it to the health department because they thought it might be the grocery store's fault, but turns out it was just Christina's cooking. Now she was dealing with a health department investigation and everyone was comparing notes about how sick they'd gotten. My mother-in-law called me directly for the first time in 3 weeks. Asked if I'd be willing to host New Year's dinner. Said she'd pay for all the groceries and even hire someone to help me clean up after. I said no thank you. She actually started crying on the phone. Said she didn't realize how much work I'd been doing all these years and she was sorry for not appreciating me. I said okay, apology accepted, but I'm still not cooking. Then Christina called. Full-on sobbing apology. Said she didn't mean to call me a servant, she was trying to be funny and it came out wrong. Said she never realized how hard it was to cook for that many people and she had so much respect for me now. I told her I appreciated the apology but my answer was still no. Here's where it gets messy. My husband is furious with me. Says I'm holding a grudge and punishing people who apologized. His family is having a catered New Year's now and it's costing his mom $800. She keeps making passive-aggressive comments in the family chat about how some people can afford to be generous with their talents and some people choose not to be. My husband says I proved my point and now I'm just being cruel. That his aunt was hospitalized and I'm still refusing to help. That family is supposed to forgive each other. But I don't think I'm punishing anyone. I just don't want to spend my holidays as unpaid kitchen staff for people who thought it was funny to call me a servant. I'm tired of doing all that work and getting zero appreciation until suddenly nobody else can do it. My husband is sleeping in the guest room now. Says I'm not the person he married. His mom uninvited me from New Year's unless I'm willing to contribute, and my husband is going without me. Half of me feels justified. The other half is wondering if I took this too far. They did apologize. His aunt really was in the hospital. And now my marriage is falling apart over holiday dinners. Am I a butthole? My husband filed for divorce 3 days after New Year's. He handed me the papers on January 3rd while I was making coffee. Didn't say anything, just put the folder on the counter and walked out. I stood there staring at it for probably 10 minutes before I even opened it. The petition cited irreconcilable differences, and he was requesting I cover half his legal fees since this was my fault for refusing to compromise. I called him. He didn't answer. Texted him asking if we could talk. He replied, "My lawyer will contact you." That was it. 13 years together and I got lawyer speak. His family didn't know yet. I found out because his mom called me that same afternoon asking if I'd reconsidered about cooking for his dad's birthday dinner in February. I told her my husband just served me divorce papers. She went quiet for a second, then said, "Well, what did you expect? You've been incredibly selfish." I hung up on her. The next day his sister Christina posted in the family group chat that I was tearing the family apart over a joke and everyone needed to pray for my husband during this difficult time. I left the group chat. Then I blocked all of them. My husband moved out that weekend. Took his clothes, his computer, about half the furniture. Left me a note saying he'd be back for the rest later and I should think about what I really want before the lawyers got involved. What I wanted was my marriage back. But not like this. Not with him punishing me for having boundaries. I hired a lawyer the following Monday. She was this no-nonsense woman in her 50s who listened to everything and then said, "So he's divorcing you because you stopped being free kitchen staff for his family?" I'd never heard it put that plainly. When I nodded, she said, "Let him. You'll be better off." The divorce was supposed to be amicable. That lasted about 2 weeks. His lawyer sent over a proposed settlement that was insane. He wanted the house, which we'd bought together with my inheritance from my grandmother, as the down payment. He wanted half my retirement account. He wanted me to pay spousal support because I made slightly more than him. And he wanted our dog. I told my lawyer absolutely not. She fired back a counter-proposal that was way more fair, and his lawyer responded by adding a claim that I'd been financially abusive by refusing to cook for his family events. I couldn't believe it. They were actually trying to use my boundary as evidence of abuse. My lawyer shut that down fast. She pointed out I'd spent hundreds of hours and thousands of dollars on food for his family over the years with zero compensation or appreciation. She had me calculate everything. Just Thanksgiving alone was usually $400 to $500 in groceries plus 2 full days of labor. Christmas was worse. We figured out I'd spent close to $15,000 and probably 600 hours cooking for his family over our marriage. His lawyer dropped the abuse claim real quick after that. But then things got nasty in a different way. His mom started calling my work. She told my boss I was going through a mental health crisis and might need time off. My boss is great, she just gave me a heads up, but it was mortifying. I had to explain my mother-in-law was harassing me because I wouldn't cook Thanksgiving dinner. Then Christina started posting about me on Facebook. Didn't use my name, but it was obvious. Stuff like some people will destroy a whole family over their ego and narcissists will always play victim. Her friends were commenting telling her to stay strong. I screenshot everything and sent it to my lawyer. My husband texted me out of nowhere one night. Said his dad was in the hospital again, some complication from the food poisoning, and if something happened to him it would be my fault for not preventing Christina from cooking. I blocked his number after that. The divorce mediation was a nightmare. He showed up with his mom. My lawyer told them she had to wait outside, but she made sure to corner me in the hallway first and say I was destroying her son and she hoped I was happy. The mediation itself went nowhere. He wouldn't budge on wanting the house and the dog. My lawyer finally told his lawyer we'd see them in court. That's when my husband's family really lost it. His aunt, the one who'd been hospitalized, somehow got my personal email and sent me this long message about how I was a cold-hearted witch who cared more about pride than family. How I should be ashamed. How she almost died and I didn't even apologize. I forwarded it to my lawyer. She said we could potentially file harassment charges, but it might make things worse. I told her to do it anyway. I was done being nice. The police called his aunt and gave her a warning. She posted about it on Facebook calling me unstable and vindictive. More screenshots for my lawyer. Then my husband tried a different approach. He sent flowers to my work with a card that said, "I miss you. Can we talk?" I threw them away. He started parking outside my house at night. Not doing anything, just sitting in his car. I called the police for a wellness check and they told him to leave. My lawyer said his behavior was going to help our case. He was looking more unhinged by the day. Court date got set for March. My lawyer was confident about the house since I put down the entire down payment and could prove it. The dog was trickier since we'd adopted him together, but he'd been staying with me and I was his primary caretaker. 2 weeks before court, my husband's lawyer requested another mediation. My lawyer said it meant they knew they were going to lose. We agreed to one final attempt. He came alone this time. Looked terrible. Like he hadn't been sleeping. He barely looked at me the whole session. His lawyer did most of the talking, proposing a new settlement where I kept the house and dog, we split retirement accounts evenly, and no spousal support either way. It was fair. My lawyer said I should take it. But then his lawyer added one more thing. He wanted me to write an apology letter to his family for the pain I'd caused them. I actually laughed. My lawyer kicked me under the table, but I couldn't help it. This man was divorcing me, had let his family harass me for weeks, and he wanted an apology? I said no. My husband finally looked at me and said, "You really can't just say sorry? After everything?" I told him I had nothing to apologize for. His family called me a servant and he let them. That's what happened. He stood up and walked out. We're going to court next week. My lawyer thinks I'll get everything I'm asking for. The house, the dog, my full retirement account, and maybe even a restraining order against his mom and sister if the judge sees all the harassment evidence. But I feel empty about it. I didn't want any of this. I just wanted basic respect, and he chose his family over me. Now I'm losing 13 years of my life and fighting in court over a dog. Everyone keeps telling me I did the right thing by holding my boundary. My friends say he showed his true colors. My therapist says this is the healthiest thing I could have done for myself. So why do I still feel like maybe I should have just made the damn turkey? The judge awarded me the house, the dog, and full protection from his family's harassment. Court lasted 3 hours. My husband sat on the opposite side of the room with his lawyer looking like he hadn't slept in days. His mom and Christina tried to come into the courtroom, but my lawyer had them barred as potential witnesses. They had to wait in the hall. My lawyer presented everything. The timeline of me cooking for 13 years. The receipts I'd saved showing thousands spent on groceries. Screenshots of Christina's Facebook post calling me a narcissist. Copies of the threatening emails from his aunt. Evidence of my husband parking outside my house at night. The text where he blamed me if his dad died. His lawyer tried to argue I was being vindictive and withholding affection as punishment. The judge actually cut him off. She said, "Counselor, are you seriously arguing that a woman refusing to cook is grounds for fault in a divorce?" His lawyer backtracked fast, but the damage was done. When it came time for my husband to speak, he could barely get words out. He said he just wanted his wife back. That I'd changed and become someone he didn't recognize. The judge asked him directly if he defended me when his sister called me a servant. He said he didn't think it was that serious at the time. She asked if he'd apologized. He said he tried, but I wouldn't listen. My lawyer stood up and read the text he'd sent demanding I think about what I really want. The judge was not impressed. The ruling came down fast. I got the house since I'd paid the entire down payment with my inheritance. I got the dog since I was primary caretaker and he'd been living with me throughout the separation. We split retirement accounts evenly with no spousal support either way. And she granted a 1-year restraining order against his mother and sister, requiring them to stay 500 feet away from me and cease all contact, including social media. My husband looked like he'd been punched. His lawyer was already packing up his briefcase. The judge told us we were dismissed and reminded my husband that violating the restraining order on behalf of his family members would result in contempt charges. I walked out and his mom was right there in the hallway. She started toward me saying, "Now you listen here," but court security stepped between us. My lawyer told them about the restraining order and they escorted his mom and Christina out of the building. Christina was crying and his mom was yelling about how this was a miscarriage of justice. I sat in my car in the parking garage for 20 minutes just shaking. It was over. 13 years of marriage done in a 3-hour court session. My lawyer called that evening to check on me. Said I should expect his family to try something and to document everything. She was right. 2 days later I got served with a lawsuit from Christina. She was suing me for defamation over the food poisoning incident. Claiming I'd spread lies that ruined her reputation and caused her emotional distress. She wanted $50,000 in damages. My lawyer laughed when I sent her the papers. Said it was a slap suit, meant to intimidate me into backing down. She filed a motion to dismiss and counterclaimed for malicious prosecution. Said we'd have it thrown out in a month and Christina would owe me legal fees. But it got worse before it got better. My husband started a GoFundMe. I found out because a mutual friend sent me the link. He titled it "Help Me Rebuild After Losing Everything," and the description made me sound like a monster. Said I'd kicked him out over a misunderstanding, taken his home, turned his family against him, and left him with nothing. It had raised $3,000 in 2 days. I screenshot the whole thing and sent it to my lawyer. She said it violated the settlement terms about not disparaging each other and we could go after him for it. But I was so tired of fighting. I told her just to send him a cease and desist. He took down the GoFundMe, but not before his family had shared it everywhere. I started getting messages from people I barely knew telling me I was heartless. Someone left a bag of dog shit on my porch with a note that said, "This is what you are." I filed a police report. They said without proof of who did it there wasn't much they could do, but they'd increase patrols in my neighborhood. Then my job got involved again. His mom called my boss a second time claiming I'd stolen money from her. Completely fabricated. My boss was less understanding this time. She pulled me into her office and said she needed this to stop because it was affecting workplace morale. I broke down and showed her everything. The restraining order, the divorce decree, all of it. She apologized and said she'd handle it if his mom called again. But I could tell she was annoyed this had become her problem. I started looking for a new job that night. Christina's lawsuit got dismissed 3 weeks later, just like my lawyer predicted. The judge called it frivolous and ordered Christina to pay my legal fees, about $4,000. My lawyer sent the invoice and Christina apparently had a meltdown on Facebook about how the legal system was rigged against honest people. My ex-husband tried to contact me one more time. He sent a letter through his lawyer asking if we could meet in person to talk. Said he wanted closure. My lawyer advised against it, but I agreed to meet at a coffee shop with my lawyer present. He showed up looking worse than at court. Thinner, older somehow. He sat down and immediately started crying. Said he'd made a terrible mistake and wanted to know if there was any chance we could work things out. That he'd stand up to his family this time. That he'd go to therapy. That he loved me. I told him no. He'd had months to stand up for me and chose not to. He'd filed for divorce, not me. He'd let his family harass me and did nothing. I was done. He asked if I'd ever loved him at all. I said of course I had. That's why this hurt so much. But love wasn't enough when he'd pick his family's comfort over my basic dignity every single time. He left without saying anything else. My lawyer said that was probably the last I'd hear from him directly. But his family wasn't done. His mom filed a complaint with my employer's HR department claiming I'd harassed her. It went nowhere because I had the restraining order and proof she'd been the one making contact, but HR still had to investigate. I had to sit through 2 meetings explaining my personal life to people who had no business knowing it. I found a new job 3 weeks ago. Better pay, fully remote so no one can show up or call my office. I gave notice and my boss seemed relieved. I don't blame her. The house feels empty now. Just me and the dog. I repainted the bedroom and got rid of all the furniture my ex picked out. Bought new stuff that's completely my taste. Started cooking again, but only for myself. Small meals I actually enjoy instead of massive productions for people who didn't appreciate them. My friends keep asking if I'm okay. I tell them I am. Some days that's true. Other days I wonder if I threw away my marriage over a turkey. But then I remember sitting at that table watching everyone eat while his sister smirked and his mom laughed and he said nothing. I remember him handing me divorce papers instead of standing up for me. I remember choosing myself for the first time in 13 years. I don't regret it. But I didn't expect winning to feel this lonely. My ex-husband's father died last week and his family is blaming me for it. His brother called me at 2 a.m. screaming that I'd killed their dad. That the stress from the divorce and the family falling apart had triggered a massive heart attack. That I had blood on my hands. I hung up and blocked the number, but I couldn't go back to sleep. Just lay there staring at the ceiling thinking about how his dad had been one of the few who'd never been outright cruel to me. I didn't go to the funeral. Obviously. The restraining order was still active against his mom and Christina, and I wasn't about to walk into a room full of people who hated me. But apparently my absence was noted. My ex posted on Facebook about how some people can't even show basic human decency in times of grief, and everyone knew he meant me. My lawyer sent him a warning about violating the non-disparagement clause. He deleted the post, but the damage was done. I got messages from extended family members I'd met maybe twice calling me a monster. Someone posted my new work email in a grief support group his family had joined, and I started getting emails from complete strangers telling me I should be ashamed. I had to get my work at department involved to filter them. My new boss pulled me aside and asked if everything was okay. I said yes, even though it clearly wasn't. Then things took a turn I didn't see coming. My ex's aunt, the one who'd been hospitalized from the food poisoning, died 3 days after the funeral. She'd never fully recovered. Her immune system had been compromised and she'd caught pneumonia and just couldn't fight it off. His family lost their minds. Christina posted a long Facebook rant about how I'd murdered her aunt by refusing to cook and letting her eat poisoned food. How if I'd just done what a good wife should do, none of this would have happened. How 2 people were now dead because of my selfishness. The post got shared hundreds of times. People were commenting that I should be investigated. That I should be charged with negligent homicide. Someone found my LinkedIn and started messaging my professional contacts telling them I was a killer. My lawyer filed for an emergency extension of the restraining order and demanded Christina's post be removed as harassment. But the screenshots were already everywhere. I reported my work email address being shared and got it changed again, but people kept finding the new one. I stopped sleeping. Every time my phone buzzed I'd panic thinking it was another death threat. Because that's what they become. Actual threats. People saying I deserve to die the way I'd killed 2 innocent people. That someone should make me pay. I filed police reports. They said they'd investigate, but without specific actionable threats there wasn't much they could do. I asked about the people saying someone should hurt me and they said that was still protected speech unless someone made a direct threat. My therapist increased our sessions to twice a week. She said I was showing signs of PTSD. I laughed because how could I have PTSD from not cooking a turkey? But she wasn't joking. Then my ex showed up at my house. Violated the distance requirement from the restraining order completely. I saw him through the window sitting on my porch at 6 a.m. holding a coffee cup just waiting. I called the police and stayed inside until they arrived. He didn't resist. Just let them take him. But before they put him in the car he looked right at my window and said loud enough for me to hear, "This isn't over." He spent one night in jail for violating the order. His family posted his mugshot on Facebook with a caption about how the justice system protects abusers and punishes victims. Started another fundraiser for his legal fees. It raised $8,000 in 3 days. My lawyer said we could push for stricter enforcement, but it would mean more court dates and more legal fees and more of my life consumed by this nightmare. I told her to do whatever she thought was best. I was too exhausted to make decisions anymore. Work started suffering. I missed deadlines or zone out in meetings. My boss called me in again and said she was concerned about my performance. That she valued me but needed to know I could handle my responsibilities. I promised I'd do better, but we both knew I was barely holding on. I started having panic attacks. The first one hit while I was grocery shopping. Saw someone who looked like Christina from behind and my chest just seized up. Couldn't breathe. Had to abandon my cart and sit in my car for an hour. My friends stopped knowing what to say to me. They tried to be supportive, but I could tell they were getting tired of the drama. One of them finally said maybe I should have just apologized to his family and avoided all this. I stopped answering her calls after that. The dog got sick. Stress-induced illness, the vet said. He could tell something was wrong in the house. Started having accidents and losing fur. I felt guilty that even he was suffering because of choices I'd made. My ex's lawyer filed a motion to modify the restraining order, claiming it was preventing him from grieving with his family properly. That I'd weaponized the legal system to isolate him during the worst time of his life. My lawyer said it wouldn't go anywhere, but we'd still have to respond and possibly appear in court. I was so tired of court. Tired of lawyers. Tired of explaining myself over and over. Tired of being called a murderer by people who didn't know me. Then last week I got a letter at my house. Not mailed, hand-delivered. No return address. Inside was a printed copy of his dad's obituary with my face photoshopped into the background and the word killer written across it in red marker. I took it straight to the police. They said they'd increase patrols but couldn't do much else without knowing who sent it. Suggested I install security cameras. I spent $1,200 on a camera system that night. Had them installed the next day. Started sleeping with my phone next to my pillow and pepper spray on my nightstand. My lawyer said the harassment was escalating and we needed to document everything. That eventually we'd have enough for a more serious case. But how much more did I have to endure before eventually happened? I haven't cooked anything in 2 months. Living off takeout and frozen meals. Can't even look at my kitchen without feeling sick. The smell of roasting anything makes me want to throw up. Some days I think about just disappearing. Changing my name, moving to a different state, starting over where nobody knows about the servant comment or the divorce or the deaths. Where I could just exist without being blamed for everything. But I'm not the one who should have to run. Christina got arrested 2 weeks ago for violating the restraining order. She'd been the one leading things at my house. The police matched her fingerprints to the photoshopped obituary and found more evidence on her phone. Detailed plans about how to scare me. Screenshots she'd taken of my house from the street. Messages to friends saying she was going to make me pay for what I did. They charged her with stalking and criminal harassment. She spent 4 days in jail before her mom posted bail. The court added 2 more years to the restraining order and mandated she attend anger management counseling. My lawyer said if she violated again she'd be looking at serious prison time. My ex-husband had apparently been helping her. The police found texts between them coordinating when I'd be at work so she could leave things at my house. He got charged as an accessory. His lawyer managed to get him a plea deal, 6 months probation and a $5,000 fine, but it went on his record. His family's lawyer sent mine a letter asking us to show mercy and drop the charges against Christina. Said she was grieving and not in her right mind. My lawyer responded that grief doesn't excuse criminal behavior and we wouldn't be dropping anything. The Facebook post stopped after that. His mom took down all her social media entirely. I heard through someone who knew someone that she'd been advised by their lawyer that her online activity was making things worse for Christina's case. My ex lost his job 3 weeks ago. His employer found out about the criminal charges and the restraining order violations and decided he was a liability. He'd worked there for 9 years. I found out because he sent me an email through his lawyer blaming me for destroying his life. My lawyer forwarded it to the prosecutor as evidence of continued harassment. The aunt's family tried to sue me in civil court for wrongful death. My lawyer got it dismissed within a week. The judge said there was no legal basis for holding me responsible for Christina's cooking or the aunt's subsequent illness. They had to pay my legal fees, another $6,000. I got a new therapist who specializes in trauma. She's been helping me work through everything. Says what I experienced was a campaign of abuse and harassment and my responses were completely normal. That setting boundaries doesn't make someone responsible for other people's choices to violate those boundaries. My dog recovered once the stress level in the house dropped. He's back to his normal self, sleeping on my bed and following me room to room. Sometimes I think he's the only one who came through this without losing something essential. Work stabilized once the harassment stopped. My boss apologized for not being more supportive earlier. Said she didn't understand the full scope of what was happening. I appreciated it, but I'm still looking for something new. Too many people at that company know my business now. I started cooking again last month. Small things at first. A roasted chicken just for me. Some soup. Made Thanksgiving dinner for myself and 2 close friends who've stuck by me through everything. It felt good to cook for people who actually wanted to be there. My ex tried to contact me one more time through a mutual friend. Asked if I'd be willing to talk, said he wanted to apologize properly. I told the friend no. There's nothing he could say that would change anything. He made his choices and I made mine, and we both have to live with the consequences. I heard his mom sold their family house. Couldn't afford it anymore after the legal fees and the fundraisers drying up once people learned the full story. She moved into a small apartment across town. Part of me feels bad about that, but mostly I just feel tired. Christina's trial is set for next spring. The prosecutor told my lawyer they have a strong case and expect her to plead guilty to avoid jail time. Either way, she'll have a criminal record. Won't be able to work with children or vulnerable populations. She'd been studying to be a teacher. Sometimes I still wonder if I should have just apologized that first Thanksgiving. If I'd swallowed my pride and made nice, everything would be different. My marriage would be intact. 2 people might still be alive. A whole family wouldn't be fractured. But then I remember that none of this started because I wouldn't cook. It started because they thought it was funny to call me a servant and my husband thought that was acceptable. Everything that came after was them choosing to escalate rather than respect a simple boundary. I'm selling the house. Too many bad memories here. Found a smaller place across town with a nice kitchen and a fenced yard for the dog. Moving next month. It feels like closing a chapter. My divorce lawyer sent me the final paperwork last week. It's officially over. 13 years reduced to a legal document saying we're strangers now. I signed it and mailed it back the same day. I'm not the same person I was 2 years ago. That version of me would have kept cooking and swallowing insults and pretending everything was fine because keeping peace was more important than keeping dignity. This version knows better. I lost my marriage. I lost years of my life to legal battles and harassment and fear. I lost the version of myself that thought love meant accepting disrespect. But I didn't lose the ability to know my worth. And I didn't lose myself trying to make people happy who were never going to appreciate me anyway. So no, I don't regret refusing to cook that turkey. I regret marrying someone who thought watching his family mock me was less uncomfortable than defending me. But that's on him, not me. I'm done apologizing for having boundaries. I'm done questioning whether I'm the villain in someone else's story. I know what happened and I know what I did and I'd do it again. Some people will always think I'm the one who destroyed that family. Let them. I know the truth. I just wanted basic respect and they chose cruelty instead. Everything after that was their decision, not mine. I'm okay now. Not great, not healed, but okay. And that's enough for today.